Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Rao Kulusu coming to you on the Monday morning with this question. Is there quality in our lived life? This has come up several times in discussions with me on several occasions lately. So I thought I will come and really discuss this here with my friends on Clubhouse and Wisdom and other channels, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Okay. What do I mean by quality in lived life? Because there was a philosophical talk that was happening, and everybody is intent on listening, and everybody intent on grasping what it is. And the question came, how many of these points or lessons that you have grasped have seeped into your life, thereby improving your understanding, your serenity in the mind, and is there love in your heart? Is it seeping into the family and friends and the society members? And that is so. That's the key point, which was really invited introspection, invited honest looking at ourselves and all that. I thought that was a very relevant point because most of the time we spend reading books, listening to lectures, or going back to the scriptures, listening to the spiritual talks, all that, right? And at the end of it, are they seeping into the life, or the life has become turmoil, and all friction, all conflict, wars, and violence, and so many other factors, right? In spite of all these things, the people who are involved in the real spiritual life of finding out the truths of existence and life had been really paying attention to this question. Okay, there was a request last night from somebody talking about renaissance of our life, human life, all over the world, and not by some dictatorial or narcissistic idea and imposing on people, but inviting them to investigate into the basic truths of life. I think a lot of times we are so occupied with our livelihood, with our activities, we don't have time for the deeper questions. But then the people who have lived life, or who have matured, who have attained a lot of things like that, they are asking questions and they were presented. And if you go to any philosopher or any major religious figure, they have looked at these questions and they have answers, but then they always said you have to investigate yourself, and you have to come to the point where you are asking questions deep within yourself, and then you can find answers within yourself. That always really attracted me. Figures like J. Krishnamurti or Ramana Maharshi or Jesus Christ or Buddha or Muhammad, all these major figures, he did ask those questions. Take, for example, Buddha. He was in the palatial luxuries. He was enjoying that all sensual pleasures. But then, when he confronted suffering, he saw the disease, he saw the old age, he saw the death, but he also saw somebody who is a monk who is really very peaceful and tranquil in his mind and very content with the answers that he found through inquiry method of knowing things, right? And then he was attracted to it. So there is suffering, but there is also solution for that. How do I find that by myself? By understanding what is going on around me and really understanding within me how my mind is responding how my heart is responding, and do I have an answer to this or not? And then he went on his own. He went through a lot of experiences, but then finally he said, well, fasting is not the way, or indulging is not the way, but there is a middle path, and also the path is towards inside of me, and then I will find that. Then what he did, he came out and he kind of lived that experience. It is said that he used to come in the morning and discuss with people and answer their questions, answer their doubts and all that. But then he went into himself. He turned inward and meditated twice a day, or at least some part of the day. That's what was reported. So that fascinated me. Do we allow ourselves to be continuously agitated, or do we allow that calmness come to us, and there is a power within us that can do that? Okay, once you do that, that is the lived experience. It's not borrowed from anybody. You yourself engage in the self inquiry and find out answers from within yourself, and that is very possible. That was handed down to people to do that and find out yourself. But lately we have a lot of talks, a lot of social audio is going on. So this is a good time to communicate. But then the next question is, after communication, after we observed whatever that was conveyed to us, are we converting it to lived experience? That means the life is really embedded with all those truths that you discover. That's the question that I have here. I present in front of you to participate and engage in this discussion, so that we can see how far we are going, how far we are really um, exerting ourselves into that kind of realm where it's not just about listening, or it's not about just reflecting, but it is making sure they are manifesting in our life. That is the lived life I'm talking about. Is there quality in it? Is there some kind of peace, serenity, and tranquility within the mind? Is there really love for the living beings, living beings? It could be human beings or animals and plants. Or is there tolerance? Or is there the friendliness? Is there the real warmth feeling? All those things, right? So it's not like we're kind of saying that people have to be this way, but is that practice is something that we are employing or not, so it's not following somebody blindly. It's like inquiring and finding out ourselves, and then making sure that comes into our life. So that's what I was talking about here. um, Anybody has any suggestions or uh, uh, recommendations for this, so please come up and share with me. I'll be happy to uh, engage in talks and discussions, and we can find out with that dialogue whether are there any other ways that we are missing out, that we are not doing. That is the essence of this topic. I hope you understood what I'm talking about, and any questions, come up and talk to me. Uh, this question has come several times because when you participate, what's called um, contemplative or introspective, or really probing into the deeper questions of life, many people do that. Many people are really interested to communicate the truth that they understood with other people, thereby more cementing their understanding. That's all good. But is understanding itself enough, or are we realizing those truths in our life? That's the question. Okay, and that's when the fruition of what we understood will come, and that's when we could be would be examples to other people, where they can also live the same life, by especially the children. Because children, they don't really uh, have this follow up just like that. They want to really absorb whatever we are doing. Okay, let me get my speaker. I think I forgot for the. Um, Sorry about that. I forgot the microphone for the uh, better communication. Uh, so, as I'm talking about this particular aspect, um, many people are really interested to find the truth of ourselves by examining what's happening within ourselves. When I was fully engaged in my uh, medical practice, and there were a lot of areas where problems have come because of the insurance, because of pharmaceuticals, because of attitude of um, general people about expectations and all that, right? So it's a kind of uh, problem that has been going on for a while, and we were unhappy about how it is really, uh, really, really. Not satisfied with the way the medical care was going, because most of the people are suffering from chronic diseases, and the output and the outcomes are not really improving. There are so many people suffering from the chronic diseases, which was not really needed, because the emphasis was on just attending to the symptoms rather than really attending to the uh, roots of the disease. Okay, for that we got to get out of the pattern, really understand what are the causes of these diseases. Like for example, processed food we found out is a fundamental reason for the chronic disease. Then how come we don't allow that kind of understanding in daily life, where we are deliberately avoiding processed food? You know, I don't eat any processed food, but I'm doing well nutritionally and vitally. So that kind of practice of what we understood in our daily life, and then bringing that into it is not just the diet; it's also how we do with our activities, or with our sleep, or the rest and relaxation, or we how we keep our mind quiet and really tranquil. Okay, that's very possible. We don't have to adopt another religion, another faith. Any religion carries these things. So um, you don't have to have a religion also. A lot of people are like that. But then this kind of uh, sincerity and instead of really applying the understanding the principle that we observed from various beautiful texts, and like the Bible, Gita, Quran, anything you take. The question is, are we just are talking to other people and telling them that we know these things, or are we allowing those principles come into our life? That is, I don't want to be repetitive, but I just want to emphasize what I'm trying to get at. And if anybody wants to come up, then we can talk about this at length too. See, there is a tradition in non-duality in ancient Indian philosophy, which I understood. There they have three methods to get to this understanding and realization. Is first listen. They said first listen. Listen with an open mind. Listen with the intention of I don't know and I want to learn. You know, then you will really listen, or listen with a pointed question that you want to answer, or doubt, anything, right? And then once you listen, then take the point and go and reflect on it. Don't accept it as the truth, but then reflect on it, question it, doubt it, examine it, and then you will come up with uh, real understanding for yourself, the truth of the matter. Once you have understood, once you grasp the truth of the matter, the third step is allowing to happen in your life. That means you are really implementing that in your life. You're seeing that it is seeks through your life, and then you are really, for example, don't tell lie, the truth. And then when we are talking about some non-truths, however convenient it is, just be aware of that. That kind of thing. So or if you resolve like a exercise good for my body, understanding. Okay, that's very easy for us to do. This is a physical, it's a cross and all. But if you say don't think unnecessarily, think only on the matter that you are working on and focus on that matter. you know then when you go and work something and some other thoughts come, how are you dealing with them? What are you, and what do you understand about the thought movement, about being still and all that, yeah? That kind of thing. So many principles we absorb, and then we go to somebody else, and then we go to somebody else. So life has become more like a continuous listening and arguing, and really not staying with one thing, and then really reflecting on it, and really absorbing the truth, and then also realizing it. So that is it. It's not just listening, it's not just understanding, it's more about realization of the truth in the life. Okay, that is the lived life that was not there. There is an argument about this in India at the time of independence. Okay, which way India should go, British way or Indian way? The Indian way was bringing the spiritual genius of India into life. That means that like Gandhi visualized like a simple life, village-oriented life, and more of a small business-oriented, or the crafts, all the crafts that are going on, and more like villages are really working human-centered. All activities, everything is really nature related, like mainly 60% of the Indian even now, are agriculture based. So they were talking about that. And bringing the spiritual genius means that is outward simple life, inward higher thinking. As human beings, you want to live elevated life inwardly. That means you are more friendly, more compassionate, and more loving, and also more tranquil in your mind. That is the spiritual genius of India. Ancient said the only true purpose of life was to turn inward and realize who we are, right? That is the spiritual genius that Aurobindo wrote about implementing Aurobindo is a great sage. So he wrote this Renaissance of India, uh, uh, Renaissance of India through the spiritual genius of its own ancient wisdom, right? And then what did India do? India kind of completely ignored all that, and they turned outward. They wanted to cater to the sense pleasure. They wanted to cater to the ego. Where did this come from? All that come from the British culture and other cultures too. And so now they're caught in between. They are not that way or this way, right? But then, is that only applicable to India or everywhere else? So I live in United States. I've been here since 1981. I paid few visits, maybe 6 or 7 visits to India of a very short duration. But otherwise, I'm always here, and I was examining life, worldwide life, how it is going on. If you look at that way, each culture has religions and faiths and scriptures that are telling them uh, that that spiritual genius in every culture is there. It's not sole property of one country, but it is there. But it may be more in a country like India in the ancient times, in a country like Israel, in a country like China. There are more ancient wisdom prevalent, right? And then they borrow on that, they live on that. But my thing is, in the modern society, when we are dividing ourselves and we are suffering because of that, and we are turning outward and building all the things, we go to the moon and everything else, but we don't turn inward and find out who we are and what is the truth of the matter is. That is where this is very, very important. I think the modern challenge can be better appreciated, better understood, better overcome if you have balance within, and balance comes outside. If you have equanimous nature within, and then there will be more harmony with everybody else. So that's what I say all the time: turn inward, find out who you are, stay there, and find the peace and tranquility and happiness within, and that receives outside. There are ways to do that, but you got to really inquire into it by yourself, and then see whether you have absorbed that wisdom or not, or is the wisdom is coming into your life or not. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about. There are so many aspects of this, but I would like to engage if anybody has a question, or anybody has a doubt, or anybody has a more profound viewpoint that we could all share. I'll be happy to engage them. So that's exactly what I was doing in a lot of my talks, where I come and present this viewpoint, because this is very important for us, and everybody is trying to grasp it, a piece of it. But we have to absorb the real essence of it, and then really make sure that we have understood, but also we have realized the truth in our life, and that is really producing the dividends that it can. Okay. uh, I kind of was really sold on that, because I've seen a lot of people make a lot of money, but they are void inside. A lot of people achieved so much of heights in their career, but when you really go back, a lot of people have the void at the end of the life. Most of the people are lonely, confused, or really unhappy. But once they understood themselves, they come out of this much easier than they are not. Okay, many people die miserably, and they don't know. In the nursing homes, they are like a just existing, but not having any quality of life. So that's all pretty sad. So somebody wants to come up, I'll invite them. And the clubhouse, two of our friends are coming. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Dr. Rao. So I have a question.
Yeah.
So great insight there. So I want to know your view on when, let's say, somebody is miserable due to external condition, or maybe depression, or some chronic illness by birth.
Yeah.
Anything. It can be anything good due to bad luck or whatever. Then what is, as a first step, you suggest is to go inward?
Yeah.
Is it even possible to go inward when you are suffering chronically?
Yeah.
Is it there even a possibility, or they are directed to that fate by just bad luck?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you are right, absolutely, Sarah. Because if you are having physical ailment and pain and all that, that should be fixed. There is a way to do that. For example, BK Iyengar is a great yoga master, right? He has maybe 15 million people followers even to this day in America. Very serious followers, right? What he did was, there is a 14 or 15, he had pulmonary tuberculosis. Okay, at the time we didn't have any drugs that we have now, so people used to really suffer from it. They don't know what it is. They're so consumptive. That means it takes away all your muscle, all your respiratory reserve, and all. So he was not able to even get up and then walk. He was in such a pitiable condition. Then he visits his brother-in-law, T. Krishnamachari. He was a great yoga master, right? And then he learns yoga from him. And with yoga, he conquered not only pulmonary tuberculosis, but also influenza and other diseases that he had from a very bad patient to he became wonderfully well in health. And also once the body is fixed, then he turned to the mind and to the self within. That is the soul or whatever you call it, that energy within. And then he was established in that later on. So it's a process of understanding on our body. We have a gross body, which is our physical body, and subtle body, where our thoughts and emotions happen, and the seed body, that is our genetics and all that too, right? So he always talked about that because he was an example of how he overcame physical, mental illnesses and coming to the interior. So it's a good lifestyle. If you have the pillars of lifestyle I talk about, okay, food, activity, sleep, and calming the mind. All these are steps people do, right? And if you do that, then you'll be able to go back to that. So not everybody is the same shape, but then there is a direction. There is so much wisdom that has done. Suppose you have the tuberculosis and you don't have the energy to get up, but then if you do few exercises, or it could be martial arts, it could be yoga, it could be pilates, it could be any of those things where breathing and stretching is combined, that really gives them energy to go on. So fix the body, that's very, very important. Fix the mind, very, very important. And then you are eligible to see. Most of the people I deal with are walking and talking around and talking all the time. But when I put the question, how much is this real in your life? They take offense or they think I'm asking something extraordinary. But a lot of people try to realize and implement that, and that's what I'm talking about. Does that answer your question, Saurabh?
Yeah, Dr. Ram. Just, yeah, so you explained like the body needs to be healed first,
Yeah,
to go inward first.
yeah. But a lot of people are having a good body. On the other hand, I will tell you, if you are not realizing this wisdom that was handed over to us, we could live a life that is damaging the body and damaging the mind. I would say modern life has turned out like that. Say why people are getting addicted to the smoking or alcohol or the drugs or this information overload, overthinking, and constant worry or depression. All these things are elements of kind of either ignorant of the good things available or not able to implement them because they don't have the control of the body and mind. So that's why it's important to listen to this. You see, one time they used to have these elders in any culture. These elders have really came across, and then they passed down the wisdom, right? And especially in the combined families, when they are grandfathers, grandchildren, and middle-aged people, they are living together. They listen to the older people. They listen to the wisdom from the old people. But now most of the nuclear families they have to do whatever they can, and then sometimes they realize the mistake after they make the mistake. For example, divorce rate in young people is skyrocketing even in India too, everywhere too. So there are ways to understand that and not to go to that extent, because that is the wisdom that is available. For example, wars are happening. we are all one, which everybody say, everybody understands. But do we let go your feelings of I am this, I am that, my nation is there? That kind of divisions contribute to the conflicts. But are we implementing that? That's the question. It's for everybody, though. It's not just for pointing out one person. It's for everybody. It's like that. Let's see, Ariane, you have any question or comment?
I have
Yeah.
a few. I don't have much time, but I just want to say a few things. I think this is an important topic, but it's not as important as living the topic.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot. We speak a lot about spirituality, and we don't practice it. So we can start this very moment by trying to be more aware of ourselves in space. And aware of our speech, our tone of voice.
Yeah.
What is the motivation lying behind what we do? So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is I don't think health is anything. When one's in a lot of pain, is greatly diminished. But one thing that I do, because I don't have great health, is just when I'm lying in bed, I try to meditate.
Mm.
So if you're ill and you can't sit up, you can
that's it.
And try to focus your attention. So that's the second thing. I have 4 things I want to say.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm probably finished.
Yeah.
The third one is that when Buddha, and I'm not, I need to study more deeply about the precise aspects of this, but when Buddha was presenting his Eightfold Path and also when he talked about dukkha or suffering, he presented as a doctor would. So the structure of his presentation was, this is the disease, the disease is caused by this, and it has these symptoms. He went down just like a doctor.
Yeah.
So this is the disease is suffering. How do we know we have a disease? Because we have craving, and then we're distempered. And what does the disease look like? Then the third thing, what is the prognosis?
Yeah.
As a doctor would say, can one turn this around? And the fourth one, how does one turn it around through?
Yeah.
Through the middle way, through the Eightfold Path, and through heightened awareness and detachment from the physical realm. That may be including the body. The body is a physical thing. Actually, it's a living thing. It's a physical thing, and that detachment may have to come from the suffering of the body. Yeah. So that's the third thing I want to say. And the fourth thing I want to say in this is that we're living a very momentous time, a very challenging time for many people, and also a very dangerous time in the sense of climate chaos and disruption and massive pollution, nuclear waste, all these things that are human-made disasters and violence and war.
Excellent.
And so all those things but we have help. I'm working with I believe that there are a group of enlightened beings called Masters of Wisdom. And in India, you're so privileged because you have all these great beings who passed through and lived and shared their tutelage with India. And what you understood or understand as common sense or common knowledge, people all around the world lack. And in America, we have where I'm from, we have our commonsensical knowledge is psychology. It's not spirituality yet. So what I'm trying to say is that they're beings returning to the world, trying to galvanize humanity away from its addictions and its complacency. Because when one has a lot of material wealth, it evokes complacency. You can see that in America, because Americans are probably going to suffer grievously in the next years because we've been habituated to low fuel costs. We've karmically earned an experience where we've deposed political leaders, many of them democratically led, all over the world, and we've imposed totalitarian rules, and we've heightened the power of our corporations around the world. And so now that kind of violence, that kind of crime, is probably going to ripen and be set as it implodes within America itself with the return of Trump and all that. We just can't seem to defeat him no matter how we try. The people, and then he has sort of like a cultish following. He's sort of like Hitler. He's mesmerized the undereducated white men who are very, very resentful of their diminishing power and status in our society. And they're being used by forces that they don't even understand. Forces that are truly ruthless and criminal. That will take the whole nation down. But what I'm trying to say is the bigger picture of things. The masters of wisdom, they're 14 returning to the world, plus their head, who's called Maitreya. And they're here to help us. Maitreya's here. They say, with sharing, we can save the world. Take your brother's need as your own. There is no other course. And just very simple. This is a different kind of spirituality in action, in which we understand it's not enough to meditate, but we go out into the world and we make our life an offering.
Exactly. I qualify what I talked to Saurabh about. Most of the people, when they are ill, they want to get better, be comfortable, and they are not at a state of advanced meditative state or receive. But there are people who grow up into that. Ramana Maharshi, for example, he has such a dissociation from the body and the mind, and he always talked about the self within and establish yourself. He had a sarcoma, and they had a surgery done. At the time, the surgeon who has done is a military doctor. He said, "It's amazing that he's so detached from the body and the mind." So it is true. You can, you don't have to have complete physical health to really evolve in spirituality. Actually, the strength that you have in spiritual understanding and realization, the easier for you to handle the body and mind. So that is there. For example, Stephen Hawkins, he has that neurological disease where he was not able to move at all, but he has the consciousness, and with which he has done wonders in the discovery of black holes and so many things, right? So that is really true. But then all the people are not at that level. Some people are like, there's they can ignite just like that. But some people are like a coal. You have to pour some kerosene and then ignite them. Some people are like a wet wood that has to dry for a long time and all that. But the people who are majority of the people are like wet wood. Those people cannot really go beyond the physical suffering and mental suffering and then get into that. That's what I'm talking about. But what Arian is saying is, you don't have to be completely healthy to do that, but you have the spiritual spark. And actually, that seed is our thing, right? That seed, they say it takes several lives to get rid of all the karma that you accumulated. That's a different theory. But basically, people come with different levels of thinking this and then understanding and realizing it. Some people understand and then they go about, but people, many people, if you really say, I'm going to implement something. For example, this theory in physics or in the ancient wisdom, we are all one energy. We say that, but do we feel it? Do we feel for the people getting killed in Ukraine? Do we feel all the things that are happening to the climate and the people are suffering? Do we feel it, or do we just watch it and go, just shrugging our shoulders, go about it? Even for example, climate, I talked about this several times. It is our inward lack of really awareness of the problem in the majority of people that's contributing to the climate damage. You see, I've been following this since 80s in several organizations, and also following what is happening with ecologically the countries coming together, promising so many things, and really even now they are not doing it. Now we are suffering with uh, severe effects of the climate change. But then the source is how we have become consumers of the resources without any regard of damage, rampant. Just because America introduced something, all over the world people follow. Coca-Cola, they follow all over, and they don't even feel guilty that we are damaging to the entire world. Like a 25% of the resources are consumed by 5% of the population. Rest of them are really suffering for this. They promised. Anyway, the fundamental thing for that is lack of awareness of the problem. So I remember Krishnamurti's statement way back in the 80s. He said, the true revolution we need in the consciousness of man of what they are doing to the earth. Until that comes, that means all the people have to be awake and realize what we are doing to the earth. That I really think that is not happening. That's why we are continuing on the path of destruction. Only hope now is the millionaires have really understood this, and then they are really putting forward their own awareness, their own action from the awareness that is coming along. But many of the other people, they are okay as long as their life is good and they make the profit. They make the look at that senator from West Virginia. He wanted to protect his interests in coal and also the coal industry there, and he sacrificed the entire humanity for that. He would not allow the climate bill to come through, right, Aryan?
We're actually engaged in a war, a literal war, like they talk about in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
And the Bhagavad Gita was talking about a real event, a real war, but also a symbolic event in which all the desires, all the army, all the many thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, the war is within you. The war is, they're talking about the war within you. Go ahead.
Yeah, the war within you, but there was a real war.
Yeah.
And the issue is the same today. It hasn't changed, but we need to do our dharma, which is get involved. I'm very involved.
Yeah.
My health is not good. I'm involved anyway. I'm involved in politics. All my free time, I'm coming to this room to try to share with you something hopeful. But I'm also reminding everyone here that it is our duty and it is our privilege to be involved in this because it's a great happening. And someone like Manchin, Putin, Trump, these people are channeling huge criminal forces.
Yeah.
It's not just that they're multi-millionaires, kleptocrats, and sociopaths. That's dangerous enough. They're actually working with forces that are trying to decimate the world. And we have to, just like some people, displayed all odds, went against the Nazi regime, because Hitler was going to exterminate most of humanity if he had not been stopped.
Yeah.
That we have to find our place and find our right action. What is right action? Well, right action right now is just trying to share something where you could feel inspired to be more than you are, either spiritually or in addition to that, to take action in the healing of the world. I mean, the plant talks about individual problems like cancer. That's usually caused by pollutants, by environments, by toxic waste. So, yeah, Ramana Maharshi, he was able to sit in one place and have, incredible pain, for months, and he didn't, without moving, he was willing to do that. He always walked, with great, like with a lot of pain because of it.
As a physician, I could see that because I see some people have a very high pain threshold, some people not. But the people who are meditating and doing all that, they are able to take the pain much better than somebody who is not familiar with it at all. I've seen that so many times. So I incorporated this calming movement as a regular need for so many people. For example, somebody I diagnose a cancer right away, and immediately I make them be in the present. Think of the things that are happening and not forecast something that drastic will happen to you, but let us see one thing at a time. And also, some people are almost a monthly organ failure. They have only a few months to die, and those people they are really wanting to live in the future, but at this time they are miserable because they are so desperate that they're going to die and all that. So I told them, why don't you live this day better instead of hoping for something that may not be there? And that kind of turned them around, and they started to be enjoying the present, the days that they have. So it's a very important thing to understand living in the present, and at the same time understanding the circumstances around us and working for the others. That is what it is. See, there was one principle I'll quote you here. They said, Atma Mokshardam Jagat Hitacha. First thing is find out who you are. And then second thing is you work for the welfare of the world. So anyway, my point is listen, understand. That's all fine. But then beyond listening or understanding, are you bringing those principles into the life? Is there that kind of quality in lived life? That's not judgmental on anybody, but then just pointing out how beautiful the life would be when you are really realized and really understand we are all in one energy, and we can contribute to that harmony, really quality and all. But then they say all these things, but when it comes to immediately they go into racial feelings or money, haves and have-nots, and sexes, female, male, all these identification divide the people ahead. But then people don't look at it sincerely and say, hey, I was raised in an atmosphere where I observed it, but I'm not paying enough sincerity or earnestness to bring the truth of equality of everything into my life and how I behave in my life. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, it's almost an hour. I think we started. So 50 minutes maybe. Okay. So anything else, Saurabh or Aryan or anybody else in the room?
I really think that when you think about your life and yourself as a process, like a artistic canvas that you're in the process of developing over time. Like I work with other activists, and there's a lot of challenges just working with people, but also when I'm working and trying to change something in politics. And I'm not saying that I've had much success, because even in San Francisco, that's supposed to be an enlightened or progressive city. It's like many of the blue cities, or the blue the cities where you have a higher educated and privileged and more liberal populace, you see tremendous economic disparity, because in this country people are not paying their taxes, they're not paying anything to help others, to share or to uplift. They're trying to find a way to pay the least bit possible, even the people who are very wealthy. And then they're crowding out ordinary people, most of the society. 42% of Americans own 2% of the wealth.
Yeah.
42% of Americans. This is becoming a third world country. So within that time of ill health of America, which is, very ill, 1 out of 10 Americans went into therapy for the first time in the last 2 years. COVID, tremendous anguish and spiritual disaffection due to this realization that they may not survive, and also that things are not going to create happiness. Things never create happiness. As we know, when we buy something or, pursue something, immediately after we obtain it, it's like, what next? And that's what the Buddha was talking about, is that we miss our very lives. We miss the present when we are always hankering, craving, wanting something bigger, better, even a longer life, like your patients who are thinking, with terror about their life, or with resentment, anger, why is my life being cut short? That's not the right attitude towards death. A better attitude would be, I need to be curious. I need to be open to this experience. I don't know what it is, but I am willing to be curious about this experience, to this trip, to this voyage, to.
Saurabh, you have anything to say before we close up?
Yeah, I think most important is how to balance between our thoughts, our actions, and how we are impacting our environment and how the environment is affecting us.
There is a practice in yoga called Swa Adhyaya. That means study the self in action, right? You study your body, your mind, your feelings, and also your inward nature. And the more you really be aware of what is going on with you, the easier for you to really find the remedies, and also really not be that way. Like for example, somebody has some divisive feelings. Of different countries, different races, different colors, different sexes, and all that. You can be aware of that. That itself becomes that self-study, Swa Adhyaya. Okay. Anyway, thanks for joining me, Saurabh and Ariana, and other people in the room. And I will be ending this room now, and because I allotted almost an hour for this, and I got things to do after that. But I'm very happy that people joined, and then we kind of exchange some ideas. Hopefully, you will get to the bottom of what I'm talking about. Look at the quality in living life, and absorb things from whatever you are trying to learn from the scriptures or lectures or discussion. Only thing is just reflect on them and make them come into your life. Okay? Thank you. I'll be ending this now, and I'll be seeing you again some other time. Thank you.